Hello, my name is André Pereira. I'm a software engineer. I work for an American company based in California, but I'm based in Brazil. This is my first video of this channel, and the channel is André Pereira. And probably this video will be bad. The first ones will be bad because I'm bad at doing videos, because I never did it before. But I'm willing to be bad for some time until I get good at it, because that's how things are in life. You have to be bad at something before you get good at this thing. Okay, I will talk briefly about how I got into programming, how I started my career. So around 1999, I was around 8, 9. My mom was doing a course, a computing course, and she came home one day with an HTML book that I took a look. We already had a computer at home, but no internet. It was, previous century. So I played a little bit with HTML, did some small pages, played a little bit with it, but other than that I continued with my life and whatever a 9 years old do, actually most of the time playing video games. But someday around 2001 I found this book at home. It's a book on BASIC. I don't know if you can see. It has some examples of code. It has a lot of code. I started reading it. I don't know where it came from. Probably it was from my father, but I never asked about it. But I started reading it. I found it really interesting. I got really excited about it. And I found out that inside of there was something called Visual Basic for Applications, VBA. This thing still exists, but well, I started playing a little bit, not understand what I was doing. So I asked a book for my mom. That's how we learned things at the time, buying books. And my mom took me downtown to a bookstore. I took a look at the available books, picked one, took it home. It came with a floppy disk, crazy thing, but very normal in the day. And I went to the book from top to bottom, and after that I played a little bit, creating small games like Snake or Breakout. It was a lot of fun, but eventually when I was almost reaching 13, I thought that Visual Basic environment was limiting me. So I asked for this book for birthday, Java, how to program, 4th edition, and in Portuguese also, quite thick book. And I spent my entire teenage years with that book, like from 13 until 17, I guess, or 18. And I did games, I did applications, I did web applications. It was a lot of fun. I learned object-oriented programming. I learned how web service worked, handling server-side, rendering client-side. A lot of things that I still use on my job nowadays. I learned around that age. Well, okay. So yes, that's how I spent my teenage years. It was kind of conflicting because from one side I was a nerd doing programming for fun at home, And on the other side there was the rebel going to bars and playing snookers and missing classes. But this is a subject for another video. Well, one thing was clear to me at the time, around 17, 18, is that I wanted to study computer science. At the time I had the illusion that I would do a lot of assembly, coding in C++, and play with operating systems and hardware drivers and all kind of low-level programming. And well, unfortunately, it was a lot more like proving theorems, moving Greek letters from one side to the other of the equal sign, and at least to me, not very interesting. So around 2011, I started looking for a job, actually an internship. And I remember that I applied for 2 places. I went to do an interview with one of them. They said they liked me. Then I went to another place. It was just a guy and that was doing dumb iPhone applications. It was at the very beginning of the App Store. iPhone 3GS was the new thing on the block. Apple just started accepting external submissions of applications for their, at the time, new thing, the iPhone. And this guy found out that he could earn some money creating dumb things like fart apps. An app with a button you press, there's a fart sound. And he sold those things for 99 cents of dollar. So I don't know what he had in mind, but he decided that he needed an intern. So I went there, I did an interview with him. He liked me somehow, and he gave me an Objective-C book. And I started working with him, doing all sorts of stupid apps, until he came with the idea, what if there are ants going down the screen, and you have to press the ants to smash them on the screen. The name of the game this would became was Ant Smasher. It was a big hit of the beginning of the mobile era. It earned him millions of dollars. It allowed him to scale the company. He hired a lot of people, started doing games, and more experienced people with whom I learned a lot. Because I did all the coding on this project, Ant Smasher, but I never did a big project before. The biggest things I did were my own stuff at home, or college assignments that rarely got more than 300 lines. So that was my first lesson on software engineering, about what not to do. Like the code was highly complex, like a mess, a huge mess. I'm still ashamed of that thing, and it got worse when we implemented the multiplayer. But somehow I made it work. It worked fine. As I said, the guy earned millions. Probably he's retired now. But that's how I got my foot in the industry. I worked for that guy for 1.5 years. One day I came to him and I said, oh, well, I decided to leave college because I found it boring as hell, very boring. And he said, okay, you are hired full time. And that's how I got my first job. And I went straight to mid-level engineer because I already had like 10 years of coding experience, and I already could code like the other guys that were a lot more experienced. So I went from intern directly to mid-level, so I was never a junior developer. So I don't know how that is. And well, I learned a lot during that period about how to organize a project, why clean code matters, how to make things simple because you have to maintain those things later, why good variable names really matter. It was very instructive, if I can say that. But eventually I got sick of the guy because he liked to change stuff all the time, and I went back to college, to another stint. So I did 2 years of college. I stopped for a year. I took a year to find out what life had to offer. I left to live alone. Actually, I shared an apartment with a work colleague, and I went to a lot of parties and drinking and women and stuff like that. I was 21. So I had no good judgment yet. Actually, it took a lot more time to get to that point. And after that year, I decided to go back to college, leave that company. So I spent 6 months just studying. College was still boring as hell. So I decided to start working again while studying college. Eventually, I left college for good because I couldn't stand the thing anymore. So, but it was good because I found my second job, my second internship actually. It was using Unity 3D, the 3D engine for games, to develop educational applications. Around that time, tablets were a thing, and governments all around the globe were buying tablets to put in the schools for the kids, and there was a lack of applications, educational applications for those tablets, for the kids to use. And that company was trying to address exactly this gap, creating interactive educational experiences for tablets. And that's where I got really good at linear algebra, because college was lackluster, to say the least. And it was a lot of fun. The guys were great. The job was great. I left that job for money, and then I went to a company where, when I said that I left college, they wanted to hire me full time, but keep me with the same pay as an intern. I said no, I won't accept that. So I left to another company where I consider that I started my career, in fact, as an Android developer. But this thing I'll probably talk about in another video. And that's how I started coding and how I got my foot in the industry. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you again soon.